What's going on, YouTube? Southern Comic Geek coming to you with a new comic book day haul. I was able to get to the comic book shop today. Hey! The crowd goes wild. Yes, I was able to get to the comic book shop today and pick up some new comic books. And a couple of ones that picked up a little bit older, and got an item in the mail today that was supposed to be here yesterday. But hey, that's how the mail goes, right? But before we get into that, go ahead and smash that like button, lightly tap it. Either way will work, whichever way you prefer. And then also, if you haven't already, I forgive you, but go ahead and rectify that right now by hitting that subscribe button and the bell notification, that is, if you want to be able to have the knowledge wherewith to make a intelligent decision as to whether or not watch content like this that drops ever so randomly. So let's get into the books today. So picked up Gideon Falls 25, William Smallwood. Hello, thanks for joining. I was in a comic shop in Salt Lake City, Utah, and asked the comic shop owner, hey, what would you recommend? And one of the first titles that came to them was Gideon Falls. So originally I picked up the trades because they were already a bunch of issues in. What's going on? The like button has been smashed. Thank you, Nostalgia Junkies. Yes, aren't we all Nostalgia Junkies? David, what's going on? So picked it up and couldn't put the graphic novels down, and so ever since then I've been picking up the single issues, but this is coming to an end, I guess, as all good things eventually do. But Sorrentino and Lemire just have been killing it. The way they tell the story, both in the word and the art, just seem to go great, especially with kind of like a Bill Sienkiewicz vibe, because Sienkiewicz is really good at a story that his art tells the story, if that makes sense. So if he's talking Moon Knight, or if he's talking maybe New Mutants, Demon Bear, that type of stuff, or Joker, that madness type of deal, then that kind of makes more sense. And so they do a similar deal. They've worked together on several titles. I know more recently the Joker Killer Smile. They were the team on that. Gideon Falls is coming to an end. This is issue 25. They're going to 27, especially if you like horror, which I am not a huge fan of, by the way, but I do pick up Gideon Falls, and Something's Killing the Children is another one. Seems like there was one other one. I've not bought into Ice Cream Man yet, but people have been telling me that's a good one as well. Anyhow, if you haven't picked it up already, check out Comixology or get some graphic novels. It's certainly the cheaper way to get into it at this point, where it is about to end, but it is a very interesting story. So decided to pick up Juggernaut #1. This is the regular A cover. Pretty cool. They did a little change to Juggernaut's outfit. And Fabian Nicieza, which is the guy that co-created Deadpool and did a lot of X-Men related titles back in the day, is coming back and is going to be writing Juggernaut. Interesting. Don't know if this is going to be earth-shattering. There's a pun right there. What's going on, Flash by Night? Thanks for joining us as well. David Ewing says, yes, Gideon Falls. So he's giving it a 2 thumbs up. So there you go. This is the A cover. I thought about picking up the Scotty Young cover. Not all Scotty Young covers really speak to me, but I thought the one was kind of cool that for the Juggernaut. What's going on, Warlord? How are you? But yeah, so I picked this up. Don't know if I'll pick up the other ones. We'll see how it goes. Overall, Fabian does real well to me to write, especially X-related titles. So I probably will. And so we'll see how that goes. I wonder if Juggernaut's going to play into the Ten of Swords deal, like every other X title is going to. We'll see. Then we've got Rye #7. This is the A cover. You knew I had to throw some Valiant in here somewhere. And so we've got Rye #7. My comic shop let me down and missed Rye 6. And then finally tells me today, well, look, if you can pick it up somewhere else, go ahead, do it. The worst off it comes in, and I just put it on the shelf. It's like, yeah, gee, thanks. I saw it 2 weeks at another comic shop. I could have picked it up then if I'd known you were not going to cry about it. What's going on, Comic Mag Musings? Just showing off some new comic book day stuff and another item that I got in the mail today. Got Spider-Man Noir. As you might know, I was collecting Amazing Spider-Man. I said too daunting of a task, especially while I was collecting Uncanny X-Men and the other various runs that I'm collecting. Of course, I'm through with the X-Men run, but there's several other ones that are rather large, like Batman. But Spider-Man Noir is a pretty neat character. And so it has like old crime mystery type deal vibe going on with it. I thought when we come back from the Corona to drop it, gave it a shot. So I've been picking it up ever since. I don't imagine it's going to continue on in perpetuity. But also picked up Spider-Woman #4. Typically, I wouldn't pick up a title like this. It's not a character that I'm heavily vested in or anything. But I got the Spider-Woman #1 from Comic Tom 101's mystery box, which I had dropped, by the way. But check out a recent video that I did. I was kind of pleased with the one that came out this month. But Spider-Woman #4, I picked up #1 out of the mystery box. Okay, well, I'm glad you didn't spoil it for me. This is a spoiler-free review. But he'll be here all week, folks. Yeah, I totally missed that one. But yeah, so that I read the first story, so I'm like, well, that's pretty interesting. So I've been picking it up ever since. Don't know if I'll continue to, but so far so good. Then we've got Bounty Hunters #5. Really been digging what Marvel's been doing with the Star Wars franchise. Like I've said many times before, it's amazing how Marvel knows how to do superhero movies in the MCU very successfully. They know how to do Star Wars in the comics, but they don't know how to do Star Wars in the movies. Who knows? But anyhow, this is Bounty Hunters. Boba showed up at the last part of the last issue. And so, all what's about to break loose. Magoo Fitzfarter up in the house. And so the art and the throwback settings are worth the read. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the vibe that I was digging. Comic Mag Musings, that's why I've been picking up Noir. So we'll see. Can you read it and not hear Nick Cage's voice? Something to think about. Then we've got Ten of Swords. This is the most latest cash grab for my money from Marvel. They know, hey, we've been writing some crappy X-Men titles. Jason hasn't been buying them all, so now we're going to reel him in with a 24-part deal. Wonderful. Been hearing some mixed reviews. It is pretty in-depth, is what I've been told. A lot of Hickman diagrams and the like, but I'm cool with that. That's just me personally. And so if it can tell a really good story, I'm digging it. I will probably pick up all of the tie-ins with this, like I did with Joker's War. I've realized after I bought this copy that there is a connecting cover with the Mark Brooks that was an early on show for Ten of Swords. Has them all with the swords in it. I was like, oh man, I wish I would have got that one. I'll have to pick it up somewhere else, but this is the one that I picked up. So looking forward to it. Hopefully it is a good story. I figure that this is going to be the downfall of Krakoa, and more things are going to go back to status quo, from the sense of, hey, mutants can't just in perpetuity be killed and brought back, that there's going to be some finality to things. If you read the Storm Giant Size X-Men, you kind of got that vibe. Like everybody's like, well, why don't you just die, Storm? We'll resurrect you. It's no big deal. And then, of course, the whole deal with Kitty Pryde. So I think that things are going to change. What's going on? How are you doing today? Magoo says DC Comics rock. Well, hey, I've got some coming your way. So we've got Batgirl #49. I kind of question whether or not I wanted to pick this up because 48 was kind of meh. 47 was pretty good. But I don't typically pick up Batgirl, but this little Joker War tie-in was DC's cash grab for Jason's money. And so I picked up all of the tie-ins, ever so loose tie-ins, like the Catwoman tie-in was ever so loose. I could have done without, but it was an okay issue. But yeah, the issue, the 48 for Batgirl was kind of meh. And so I almost didn't pick this one up, but decided to. Might go to the end of the series because I know it's fixing to end, probably 50. Then we've got Dark Knight's Death Metal, Speed Metal. Been hearing a lot of raving reviews about this. So I've been kind of dodging these spoiler reviews for this deal right here. But I've heard it is really good. The Death Metal series, on a scale of A to F, A obviously being the best, I would count Death Metal probably, a strong B. It's certainly not the best one, but I think that DC is going to use it to reset some of the status quo. Obviously, they've done it with Wally West already, kind of redeeming that character to where Tom King kind of assassinated him or his character in Heroes in Crisis. But yeah, so Wally is kind of redeeming himself through this story arc, and we'll see how it goes. But Scott Steiner tells a good story. Capullo, they work really well together. Then we've got True Believers copy of X-Men 58. So this is a True Believers copy of the first appearance of Havoc, Neil Adams cover. Do have the original, and I like to pick up these True Believers. They're only $1 or 90 cents after my discount. And so, yeah, I like to do this and rearrange my wall to have facsimile / homage covers next to the comics that I've collected. So those were the ones that came from my typical LCS that I get. Well, no, where did I get this one from? Oh, I also picked this one up at the LCS. Now, according to Key Collector, this is a little more higher pricier book than what Go Collect says, but in either case, this is the cameo appearance of one of Galactus's minions or heralds, and so with the little spec that he was going to be in the MCU. Whether he is or not, I only paid a couple of bucks for this, so if he's not, it's no real big deal. If he is, fine. Dig run him art on the Silver Surfer for sure. Thank you, Coffee Madness. And let's see. Yeah, and I've heard that Inhut Lee's been killing it on those Flash covers. Heard that's where they retconned a bunch of stuff, and it really wasn't Wally as much as it was a Zoom or Reverse Flash. I'm not a big Flash fan. The Flash that I know about, I just said Cardinal Sin, in front of Magoo, not a Flash fan. But the Flash that I know is the Flash from the 90s television show, John Wesley Shipp. That's all I know, really. Never was big into Flash past that. So, and of course, I knew it had to come. So Magoo says, greatest superhero, hands down. So are you a Barry Allen, or are you a Wally West, or just Flash franchise in general, Magoo? There is the question. Get 82 if you can. Is that the last issue? It came out this week. So yeah, okay, I might just do that. Then we've got Batman's Grave number 9. Now 10 came out last week, and I picked it up. And when I did, I realized when I was reading it, I'm like, I'm missing something because I'm not getting some key elements here of this story. That's when it dawned on me somehow or another I missed number 9. So I went, all flashes are amazing. So says the Fitzfarter. Okie doke. So I realized I'd missed number 9. So I went to the comic shop that I don't typically frequent because their stuff is, at least now, in rather order, kind of relative order. But none of it's priced, and then they want to shop eBay for the prices once you've dug through all their stuff. And they do have a bigger selection of new books than what my comic shop does, but they're more in part a Magic board game type deal more than they are a comic shop. Well, wow, deep dive. Thank you for confessing. Um, I'll let you get to um, oh, 80, oh, 82. Okay, I got you. I did get 82. Um, I did get 82, which is the first full appearance of that character. You are correct. This is his cameo. I sold that book to somebody who was needing it for a run. So they needed it worse than I did. So I sold it to them, picked it up. As far as deep dive in his confessional booth, we'll let him and Magoo talk about that because, as we found out, Magoo couldn't get on the show the other day because he was naked. Um, I guess he drives a truck naked or something. I don't know. Started reading Rebirth, so I'm a Barry guy, but looking forward to more Wally. Yeah, there you go. Depending on what age you are, really, because they killed off Barry in the 80s and didn't bring him back to many years later. So some people might be a Wally person just depending on how old they are. Yeah, yeah. And, it's like, can we not have a balance? I don't care if they do their thing. It's kind of like cosplayers at a con. I don't care. Um, if they do their thing or not. Just don't interfere with mine. And the problem with the comic shops that I've found that do that and heavily are invested in that, and I understand why, but the problem is that they don't never have people that know both, or they're not. It's like, oh, all their people know this, but none of them know comics. Therein lies the deal. Uh, yeah, well, that was a Freudian slip. You were really saying what you meant. Huh? Magoo says he's always naked. Well, thank you for sharing, Magoo. um, yeah, there you go. So I realized I had missed this one right here. So I picked it up in the comic shop that I don't typically frequent. Now, the interesting thing, this is the beat, so it's a buck more than the traditional one is that this is a Stephen Platt cover. I didn't even realize Stephen Platt was still drawing. If you remember for the 90s, Stephen Platt did Prophet, which is a Rob Liefeld own creation. And then he also did Moon Knight, probably just as well known or more known for his Moon Knight run. I can't remember the issue, but that was the last issue, and Moon Knight laying down there. So pretty cool. Platt's problem was, in large part, he never could make deadlines. And so my understanding was that he was out of the business altogether, but he did do this cover right here. So I thought that was pretty cool, and it was the cooler of the two. Uh, okay, almost bought a Moon Knight 55. Okay, yeah, I've about pulled the trigger on that one myself several times, and one reason or another, one excuse or another. Hey, what's going on, Slim Comics? How are you doing today? Pope Service dropping the knowledge for us there about the man Stephen Platt. But yeah, so his problem was that he never could meet deadlines, and so I don't know if he just had more time over the corona virus time, or sped up or what. But it's a pretty cool looking cover. So then I also picked up Hell Arisen #4. Obviously, behind the times on this, I did not originally pick up the Hell Arisen series other than #3, which is the first appearance of Punchline. But then I seen 1 and 2 on the cheap. I think I got them in a dollar bin somewhere. So I said, well, let me go ahead and get #4 because I'm a completionist in large part. I've got 1, 2, and 3. Why don't I just get 4 and be done with it and read the story? Um, because this is kind of going into death metal. I'm already reading death metal. I do enjoy death metal, so I'll give this a shot. I mean, it's tiny in doing it. So if he's anywhere compared to what the killer work that he's been doing in Batman and Something's Killing the Children, then hey, I'm going to be bought into it. He's one of these writers that really been getting, and a lot of people's attention, not just mine, but he's been getting a lot of attention lately because he's just been pumping out hit after hit. Also picked up these older ones. We had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #88. It's like Slash on the front cover there. 92. Realized after I got in the car and started putting these into CLZ, because that's what I do. Yeah, I put them in the CLZ and realized I already had a copy of 92, had a different cover. And I'm like, I sat there and looked at that before I picked that up. What was I thinking, man? Stupid, stupid, stupid. But then we've got TMNT number 103, cover 8. And so I picked those up, just a couple of ones I was missing. They were there for cover price. Still never made it past the stands. So got these today from Two Brothers Comics. So it says, we are humbled and thankful for your support. We hope you enjoy this A-OK, and thanks for being the best part of Two Brothers Comics. Collect your way, right? And so this is the little card. So I'm a member of Two Brothers Comics channel. Well, I figure you meant Flash. Coffee Madness says TMNT. Yes. Yeah, I wasn't too mad. I would have been mad if it was the same cover. So I got a different color cover, so I forgave myself. 7 and the 60, but I want to get the whole run. Yeah, me too. Talking about Moon Knight, I've been picking them up here and there, all the series, the Fist of Khonshu, the Sienkiewicz run, the whole deal. I just got back the Marvel Spotlight number, whatever that is, his first solo from CBCS. Was pumped to get a 7 on that. So yeah, I've been, and then I just sent off the first appearance in Werewolf by Night, and I'm going to cross my fingers on that. So what's going on, Ruben Guzman, Cowabunga? Yeah, you must have smelt the turtles. I showed some turtle books, and there you go. So yeah, I'm a member of their channel, and so they sent me this, which included a Collect Your Way, hashtag Collect Your Way, in the turtle font. A little Collect Your Way in the Spider-Man font, and then the Two Brothers Comics in the Two Brothers Comics font. I wonder if they got Justin, who is a letterer for comics, to approve their fonts before they send them out. I don't know. So got that. So glad to pick that up. And then I also got this right here. So I showed a Valiant comic off. You knew I had. There he is, dropping that knowledge, man. You rattling off, or do you got CLC in front of you? So no, I already showed one Valiant comic. You know, I got to show some more. And you're like, man, you're the only guy that likes Valiant. I was talking to a comic shop owner in Florida today. He had put a post on IG that he had these Wolverine comics for $1. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I sent him my list, and he had a lot of what I needed. And then I sent him some other lists of some runs I was looking at, and I was asking him about value ones. And he did have a couple of them. But he's like, man, I got 10 boxes back there. It's like, you're the only person that asked for them. I said, yeah, I know, I'm the weirdo. But going back to the old days, and I thought this was pretty neat. Hola, Perry. 18 new comic books I got today, and only one Marvel book. You know, that's why Marvel's pulling me back in with this Ten of Swords deal. I don't know. I mean, and my problem is in getting into indies is because my comic shop does not collect a lot, and I am lazy when it comes to researching these indies. And so I come like later to the dance, and I'm like, oh man, like I mentioned earlier with Gideon Falls, same way with Something's Killing the Children. You know, all these raving reviews, and finally I have to go order the stuff because my comic shop doesn't, you know, get those in. Yeah, I'm sure that if you had a lot of people asking about them, that would be different. But hey, driving just stopped in to say hi. Well, don't break any rules on our part, but before you leave, be sure to smash that like button, and thanks for joining us. Ten of Swords does look good. I'm hoping for the best. I'm you know, haven't been bought into Excalibur as much as I'm a Rogue and Gambit fan. Have Excalibur. I think the writing is bleh, and I think the art is meh. So I'm hoping that they're not the ones driving this whole deal, but we'll see what's going on. And so Deep Dive says he picked up 5 of the Moon Knight Walgreens exclusive action figures today. They are hard to find, but some stores, more stores are getting them in. Yeah, I picked mine up in little old Yazoo City, Mississippi. Ah, now if you caught the inflection in my voice and ha, then you are old enough to know who Jerry Clower is. You'll hear if you ever hear Jerry Clower tell stories. Well, you won't hear them no more unless they're on the rewind because he's deceased now. But you know Yazoo City, Mississippi, because that's where, when he was a fertilizer salesman, he did a lot of his running. That was his route. And so he tells about Yazoo City, Mississippi. But then you also have Zig Ziglar, you know. So the Zig Ziglar motivational speaker, who is also now not with us, was from Yazoo City, Mississippi as well. So I was in Yazoo City, Mississippi, and stopped at the Walgreens there, and they happened to have that Moon Knight. That's where I picked my Walgreens exclusive Moon Knight up from. And when I showed it off, there were several people that had pre-ordered it on Walgreens website, and they still not got it yet. I think they've since gotten it, but yeah, so more stores must be finally coming out with them. Deep dive. Brooklyn Gladiator. Yeah, so if anybody wants to drop a name of a website in there, that would be a good place for me to check out some of these indies, so I'm not in the dark until way after there. I got 6 new comic books and only 1 DC. See, if this continues to be the trend overall, then Marvel and DC, it's no wonder that they're closing out some of their shops, right? Yeah, I've heard Last Guy was good. It might have been you that was saying some good things about it, John. Thanks for joining us, by the way. Deep dive. I know Yazoo City lived in Vicksburg from age 6 to 11. Yeah, so you just take Highway 3 down to Vicksburg from Yazoo City. Wow, I didn't realize that you were in the South, man. You being in Vicksburg are only 65 miles from me. Going back in the day when I was broke, busted, and disgusted, when the family went on trips, we would go to the military park in Vicksburg because it was free. Yeah, and so a lot of the comics that I've been picking up with DC have been Black Label. I really have enjoyed the Black Label, and I haven't overall complained about the pricing of the Black Label comics because, one, the quality, the content was good, and the quality of the book itself, meaning like the paper and the binding and such. So DC probably taking note of that. Okay, deep dive. I didn't realize you lived up in Huntsville. So you live up in Two Brothers neck of the woods. Were you at the Huntsville Comic Con that took place? Good to hear that Ten of Swords is good. No spoilers. Spoiler-free zone right here. Had never got on the Venom bandwagon. By yours and Rod the Rican's suggestion, I did pick up the first trade for the Daredevil run by Zdarsky, and it was good. Kind of a slow burn, but I think some people warned me about that, and so there you go. So my indies were Canto and The Unkindness of Ravens. Okay, so I picked up Canto #1. I got the TMNT homage of that one. So did Canto 2 come out, or are you just now getting Canto 1? So got this. This came all the way across the pond. Maybe the gray man saw it before it left the UK, but anyway, so yeah, I came all the way across the pond there. From, what does that say, Oxford? I can't read those people's handwriting. Camden, whatever. But yeah, so the Queen sent me this, and okay, see, that's what I'm talking about. It's like Canto. My comic shop doesn't even pick Canto up, so I've got to get better about checking that stuff out. And the other thing too. So I've been using Previews World. So what I do is I go into Previews World while I'm in the comic shop. So if there's stuff that's not on my regular pull list, yeah, so not on my regular pull list, like Canto, I would go to Previews World for the next week, and I go ahead and go through that list, and I would say, okay, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. That way he could order it. The problem is that either I'm just getting as blind as, no offense, Magoo, the cartoon Magoo, not Magoo Fitzfarter, but getting so blind that I'm missing it, or Previews World is not even putting them on there. And so I don't know what the deal is, but I'm really hate that I'm missing these indies that I'm hearing such good things about. You know, because I feel like if there's some indies with some good stories and some good art, that I probably would end up dropping more than what I already have. Yes, took video. We'll be posting the channel soon. Gotten 4 up so far. I'll be trying to post. Editing sucks. That's why I don't do it. Largely because I'm. Uh, yeah, largely because I'm lazy. But yeah, editing does suck, and so that's why I go live, or even if I do a pre-recorded, I don't edit it. Other than, you know, maybe add my intro to it if it is pre-recorded. So okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't really buy a whole bunch of big stuff at that particular con. It just didn't come out that way. I bought about 150 books out of the dollar bin, got deals on them because I had gotten so many. I got the first Jason Todd in Batman, like first cameo of Killer Croc, that issue. And it seems like I got one more kind of okay size book, but nothing really huge to write home to mom about or anything. So this is what came across the pond. So you'll know that I'm a Valiant fan. Unfortunately, right now with the leadership Valiant has, they're really not, I think, capitalizing on the characters that they should be, especially if they're wanting to take it to the next level and produce quality movies, which is where all the money's at. So that's where everybody's going. Understood. So being in the age that I am and remembering the 90s, and so Valiant was the big thing. So when I got back into collecting comics, I had to start my collection all over again from scratch. And so I went to the Valiant bins, which were plenteous, by the way, for the most part. You got some of the first issues, like the black cover of Solar, or the first issue of Exo, the last issue of Solar, you know, things like that. A little harder to find, but they were still interesting to hunt for. And so I've got I got 6 long boxes full of the stuff. So I got every Bloodshot title ever, Rye, Eternal Warrior, Magnus the Robot Fighter, and a lot of the Exo. So talking about Exo, this right here is a promotional item that was sent to stores if they ordered I don't know if it was a certain amount of items or ordered Exo comics, whatever like that. So if you recall the Exo from back in the day, pre-Robert Venditti, who did an awesome job on Exo, by the way. This is from 1993, and this is the Exo ring. So recall the original Exo, he puts the ring on, and that's how he controls his arm. But when they rebooted it, they did away with the ring deal. So he's just connected with the armor. He can tell it to come or leave, whatever, just by, you know, thinking it. So he doesn't have to have the ring anymore. And so Robert Venditti and his Exo read is really good. If you are not familiar with Valiant Comics, check that Exo stuff out by Venditti. He did a really good job of bringing it not only up to date, but taking away some of the corny stuff from the 90s and telling a story. So let's see. Used to use Manhattan Comics website for previews. He never didn't order from them, but always liked the layout. Bought a few books Saturday. Yeah. So Saturday, I was there all day. And I'll tell you what, it's no fun wearing a mask and sweating over long boxes, but we did it all day. And so I was supposed to get something from Dustin from Two Brothers Comics. And so I was supposed to get something from him, and I forgot when I saw him there at the deal. And he calls me or messages me and says, "Hey man, we're over here at the comic shop. If you want to come by here." Um, oh, what's his name's comic shop up there that's on their show on Saturday night sometimes. Yeah, Haven Comics. And so if you want to come by here and say, man, I'm wore out and I've got a 5-hour drive, I've got to get home. And so he ended up just dropping it in the mail to me. But yeah, so we got some good deals. I was glad to get out and get to a con, being cooped up like everybody else. It was kind of a bummer. Slim Comics says Valiant has some great reads. Very underrated company. Yeah, I think so. People don't have to be crazy as I am to collect the floppies, especially the old stuff. Because in reading some of the old stuff, you can tell it's very dated. To me, sometimes that's the fun of it, because it brings back some more of that nostalgia factor. Just like when I read old X-Men comics, and I've read the old ones that I've got. I've got the whole set of Uncanny X-Men, all 5 volumes. So when you go back to the ones in the 60s, you can tell they're very dated. Iceman makes comments about Jean Grey being a girl and not being able to do such and such things. And of course, that was the day and time that they lived in. And it was perfectly acceptable to think that way or even act on those thoughts back then, not so much today. I don't have to tear up history to and I can still appreciate it, and I don't have to tear it up and try to rewrite it like some people like to do today. Yeah, so if you are interested, Exo Man of War would be a good read. Valiant no longer holds the use of Solar, Turok, or Magnus. It's owned by, I believe, Dynamite now. Those were Gold Key properties that they introduced and weaved into their universe. But Valiant is the third largest connected universe out there. So XO would be a good read. Bloodshot's an okay read. I like the old Bloodshot better. Don Perlin work on Bloodshot, but the new XO was really good. Probably XO. Eternal Warrior was good too. I like the character of the Eternal Warrior. Slim says, I just ordered Midtown and they have some good indies. Yeah, I'm just going to have to find a website that can show like some previews of some indie comics. The thing with indies, and I guess it's this just mentality from days gone by, but indies, if anything's going to be worth anything, it's going to be issue 1, and that seems to be it, right? But Jason, think about this. You're getting all these runs of these Marvel, DCs, these Valiants for crying out loud, and none of them are worth anything either. So what is your point? Get a good comic that you can get invested in and that type of thing. So Deep Dive says, I like Haven Comics, but they don't order a lot of books and run out fast. So me and Big Will went to the Deep, and Rockin' Robbie was there neck deep in some comics when I was there, and I rated a bunch of bins at the Deep myself. This is why I also feel comics will be uniquely important. It will show the society was like. Exactly. Don't sanitize history, because if you sanitize history, you never learn from it. Because if everybody goes back and says, man, we were exactly the same in the 1700s as we are today, which is what people would like you to believe. But that's simply not true. We are farther along today than what we were in the 1700s, 1800s, even the 1900s, 1950s, for crying out loud. We're way further along as far as getting along with each other, understanding each other, that kind of stuff, much further along than what we were back then. And so when you can look back and say, hey, things used to be that at a historical point, and say, yeah, things used to be this way. Okay, they're not no more. So great. That gives you hope that we can continue to move forward. Because if you don't know the past, you're doomed to repeat it. Leia Camero up in the house. What is going on? So yep. Yep. Yeah, it's a great historical record, and it's funny because there'll be comics, and I'm reading them, and they reference certain presidents, so they're dated, or like I said earlier, I used the example of I think this was in the X-Men 20s. They were facing Count Nefaria, this which is the villain that they fought in X-Men 94 and 95. And that's where he died. They've since brought him back, I think, but a long time later. But the villain that they used back then was in the 20s. He was overthrowing Washington, which, we might say, hey, Nefaria, we need you to overthrow Washington these days. But he was overthrowing Washington, and then that's where, hey, Jean Grey, get out of the way. This is a job for a guy. That type of thing. Um, so yeah, just one man's opinion. What is going on? C. Woodard, yo. I hadn't had no news stats, but I did have some turtle book earlier. Turtles books. Deep Dive says this, the last 60 years, this country has come a long way. We have a long way to go, but the media needs to sell their narrative. Yeah, and that's so true. We live in a 24-hour news cycle, and everybody is so interested in news, whether it's true or not. But bad news always sells better than good news. And so, they've got to come up with something. And so you really don't know what to trust. You never know, it's just kind of slanted. And that's why I tell my kids, you take everything people say with a grain of salt. I always get on to my kids about saying things in definitive terms. Like, everybody is this way. Oh, really? Who's everybody? Well, it's only one or two people. How many people live in the United States? And you're saying that is everybody's this way? Do you just not get out much? Do you just don't know many people? Why are you saying everybody is this way? Don't say things that like that when it's not everybody that's that way. And certainly don't say things when you don't know whether or not somebody for sure did something, last I heard that the justice system is still innocent until proven guilty. Now we have the society that they're guilty until proven innocent. And so yeah, it's just one of those things. But okay, let's see. Yes, it was. And that is an interesting bit of history. I was a history major in college, and of course, from Mississippi, not far from Vicksburg. My history teacher in college, Chris Warren, was from Vicksburg as well. And he told me that story. And that, for a large part of him growing up, they didn't have fireworks. And that was the reason why. It's also the reason why until the early 1990s that that Mississippi would only vote Democrat because Lincoln was a Republican, and they had disdain for Abraham Lincoln because Mississippi was the second state to succeed from the Union. As strange as what I just said versus what I'm fixing to say, the county I live in is Lincoln County, named after Abraham Lincoln. But yeah, so that's because the Democrats were the party of slavery. Sorry, just facts. Yeah, no fun. You're wanting to shoot some fireworks. You're like, what the crap, man? Come on, I want to shoot some fireworks. And they aren't able to do it. So yeah, strange things. Yeah, growing up here, we had blue laws, and I'm sure it was the same way in Vicksburg. And so those blue laws said things like, hey, the movie theater only opens after a certain time. So it wasn't open before church time. You could not play video games like the arcade games at Walmart and other stores that were here back then. More than it was like TG&Y and Gibson's and Woolsworth's never had that. They had the soda fountain stand, but yeah. So you couldn't play those on Sunday. So we would have to drive to Macomb, which was 20 miles down the road, which the blues laws did not apply, and go to the mall, which had an arcade. And I'd get to spend about $20 and on a good Sunday, get to spend $20 on trying to beat a game or something inside the arcade. But those were the times. Those were the times. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but there are times, and so just deal with them. Yeah, yeah. My mom worked at TGNY when she was going through school or college, and so she worked at TGNY there for a bit before she became an LPN, and then later on she became an RN. But she became an LPN, and she was working at TGNY. It's where my first Return of the Jedi action figure was, and then TGNY turned into McCory's, and then it was something else, and then that it faded by the landscape. Gibson's was another one, big department store, Woolworths. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think Brookhaven finally did away with all the blue laws and stuff like that, and I guess they had their place for the day they were in. Um, what? Yeah, I'm not gonna get it. I was gonna go on this rambling trail, but I'm not gonna go there. Not gonna go there. So I did pick up a NECA turtle figure, and so pick this up. This is going to be one of the figures that goes in my glass case when I get it with my TMNT #1. I'm going to get one for every one of the turtles. This is the NECA turtles that has Mikey and the gang looking like they did in the first movie. And so he has some exchangeable hands, some nunchucks, and that type of thing, and an exchangeable bandana there as well. And thought this was a little bit bigger. But I'm not disappointed that it wasn't, because this I got worried after I ordered. I'm like, wait a minute, how in the world am I going to fit all 4 turtles? Or now I'm going to only have to have Michelangelo in front of the thing, and it's going to cover up the whole cotton picking comic. So I was all worried about it. So when it got in at this size, I was like, oh, okay, well, that's not that bad then. But yes, this actually came all the way from England. I ordered it off Amazon and didn't realize that it was coming all the way over from across the pond there. And so it took a while for it to get here to me, but eventually it did, and I opened it up. So it's really cool. Probably going to drop a video on this, or maybe just bring it out in one of my later videos, the Mikey, and just show it off. And yes, there were the stores pre to Walmart coming to town, but there was it's kind of like coronavirus. Coronavirus is going to be blamed for a bunch of physical stores deaths, but is it really coronavirus? JCPenney was having a lot of financial troubles prior to Corona coming around. It might have been the last nail in the coffin. True. But, was it really that, or just happened to be in the wrong place? Same thing with Sears. Is online shopping the cause of Sears' woes? I say not. Sears had all the ample time in the world, all the brands in the world to make it right. Sears was the catalog leader of its day, aside from Montgomery Ward. So think about that. The catalog is just the internet before the internet. And everybody ordered everything out of the catalog, and now they have come back almost full circle and gone to the replacement of the catalog. So why didn't Sears do that? Because they were not interested in investing any money. They were interested in blowing the money in the good 90s, where everything was great and grand before the internet came on the scene. And when it did, they secured the Sears.com website domain, but largely went undone. And so same thing with JCPenney's. And so when everybody else hopped on the bandwagon, long before Amazon became everything from A to Z, but was only a bookstore at that time. They passed it by. What about Blockbuster? Blockbuster wasn't. It was Netflix the cause of Blockbuster's demise? I say not. Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix and chose not to. And then right before its death, Blockbuster decided it wanted to get into the standalone movie rental deal, similar to Redbox, and done miserably at it. So, so yeah, it's just like Kmart. And of course, Kmart was acquired by Sears, but Kmart, same way. Kmart should have had the upper hand on Walmart. Little Bentonville, Arkansas. Kmart should have, been a clean sweep over them, but it wasn't. They went into bankruptcy before Sears bought them out. So the deal is that you have to be able to have your thumb upon the consumer's needs and activate. Timing is just as important as what you do. So you have to know what the consumer wants and act upon it. It's not what you want, it's what the consumer wants. And so you have to meet the changing demands of the consumer. So it's just business. And, they're in large part not doing that. You think about, and talking about timing is just as important as what you do. Think about the AOL Time Warner merger of the 1990s. So AOL, the large leader in online, you can hear the sound if you're a certain age of dial-up connecting, and remember the disc and later CDs that were included everywhere, including comic books. So they would give you so many hours of free online. And AOL says, hey, we want to be a media giant. And so AOL and Time Warner merged, but largely became a dead in the water deal until they were spun off from each other. And Verizon eventually buys AOL and still uses AOL to this day. And then, of course, Time Warner bought by AT&T, Verizon's main competitor. And what are they doing today? Making media companies so that all this IP that they have can be sold in various forms of media. What's Disney? It's not cartoons. It's a giant IP factory. They don't make IP there anymore. It's a lot cheaper to buy it than it is to make it and build it. So it's an IP factory from the sense of they've got the IP, they bring it in, and they keep rebuilding it over and over and over again. So they want to have an all-encompassing deal. So does AT&T now, NBC, Universal, all of these companies. That's why they're coming out with their own streaming services and wanting to buy companies. You're going to see more mergers, that type of thing. So AOL and Time Warner were ahead of their time, if you think about it. But unfortunately, they didn't come up with the idea at the right time. So execution is really important. So all those companies, think about Woolworths. So we were talking about small companies being taken over. Well, Woolworths was one of the big companies of the day. Now it's a bygone thing, but Woolworths still exists. Many people might not realize this, but Woolworths, that if you were good, at least that's what I was told, and I guess I never was good enough, you would get some ice cream at the soda fountain. But I never was good enough. So today, Woolworths has pivoted and is no longer called Woolworths, although it's still the Woolworths company founded by Woolworths. I forget their first names. I'm sure their initials. But it is better known as Foot Locker today. So today it operates as Foot Locker, which can be seen in many malls, for whatever that's left, surrounding the country. And so sometimes you do have to pivot. Think about stopping at a 7-Eleven gas station. Who would have knew that years ago 7-Eleven got their start not as a gas station because they were selling stuff long before gas stations came along. It was an ice house. Times changed. Electricity was piped into the home. No longer did you need to go down to the ice house to get a block of ice to keep stuff cool, to keep stuff from thawing out. And so they had to pivot, and they started selling milk and eggs. And they started selling other stuff, and eventually the gas came, and it's called 7-Eleven. So companies have to pivot, and I think that DC and Marvel in particular need to figure out how they can pivot. They think that the automatic answer would be to go all digital, but servicing the client that they service, who in large part still like to stuff with it in their hands. Some of us still like to read floppies. That they think that, hey, okay, we'll continue to print them. But what they don't understand is trying to preach this narrative. You're not a news cycle. You're not an activist. Just tell good stories. That's all I'm interested in. Think about it, where comic books came from. When comic books were put all together to be called just that, a comic book, they came out of the Sunday funnies, as they were called. Newspapers that still exist, that is, still have the cartoon strips. That's all comic books were originally, put together news strips. And Stan Lee is known for saying, hey, this story should be one and done out of every issue. So there was no long, drawn out crossovers and all that kind of stuff back then. But why, in a news strip, aside from certain news strips like Doonesbury and stuff like that, why are we even talking politics in this stuff? Why are we even trying to, press girl power or whatever else like that? Just tell a good story. Sometimes it encompasses those things, but don't try to force it upon people. There's certain things that people don't like talking about, and that is usually religion and politics. So leave that out of your stories, Marvel and DC. Don't try to make the girls the head honchos just for the sake of feminism. If Miss Marvel wants to be Captain Marvel, I don't care. I'm not vested in a character, but don't totally change her dynamic to fit your narrative. Carol Danvers was never this kind of manly, butchy character that she made out to be ever since they redone her. So why would you make her that way now? What happened in her life? No, we just we retconned everything to make it to where that is the case. So if you want something in the name of feminism, that's fine. Make a character for that. Make a character that's always been that way. If you want to make a character that is homosexual, that went after all the women and all that other kind of stuff, leave Iceman alone. Make a new one. They were able to do North Star that way because in large part, no one cared about North Star. Okay. No one cared about North Star. Okay. And so that's fine. But to make one of the original X-Men gay when he has done nothing but chased women career, just to say, hey, we have a gay character. Why don't you make a new character? What about America Chavez? She's gay. I don't care. I'm not invested in her. They made a new character. She's gay. Whoopee. I don't care. Why make the rest of them that way? Why all of a sudden change Kitty Pryde, who was at the altar to be married to Colossus and has had from day one a super crush on Colossus, and has at no time indicated any kind of inclination to be a switch hitter. Why all of a sudden you're going to make her that way in Marauders? Why? Just so we can say, hey, we're woke. Well, go woke and go broke. I don't know, but it's really aggravating. Just tell me a good story. You don't have to do all this other stuff. And it's amazing that the indie books, I think that's why the indies have, one of the reasons why the indies are having so much traction. Besides the fact that Marvel and DC are tightwads and don't want to share in their profits that are there. Okay. So I work for a corporation that owns the company that I work for. Okay. And so I get stuff charged to my budget for corporate expenses, stuff I never see anything for. It's called exec pay, and vacations and all that other kind of stuff. So, it charges my budget. So I know how this works. Marvel is going to charge stuff for Disney. DC is going to get charged stuff. That's how they move stuff around, so they pay less taxes. Okay, I get it. So, but in large part, especially if they can't make money at $3.99, they need to just hang it up and go home. If they can't make money on $3.99 floppies, okay. So how does Tom McFarlane do it? How does he do it for $2.99? I know the man's a smart enough businessman. He ain't losing money on it. How's he selling comics? How's his numbers started rising, whereas others are falling? And the thing with these indies, the amazing thing about that, especially think about hits that Boom Studios been putting out lately, like Once and Future and Something's Killing the Children. I know they're not doing the large print numbers that they did back, say, in the 90s, but look at all the print runs that they're having to do just because they're running out of comics. I think it has something to do with the fact that they just go tell stories. If the character in there cares about boys or girls, they don't care. Okay, it's not the biggest part of the story. The biggest part of the story is the fact that these aliens are eating these kids. The bigger part of the story is that they're finding dead people in outer space, or Merlin is the big bad and he's trying to kill everybody. Whatever. Okay, they're just telling a good story. And got good storytellers to tell it. I feel like that Marvel needs to say, let's step back from this for a second. Forget about our woke nature and forget about saying, hey, look, I'm woke like everybody else. And why don't they just say, man, Boom is killing it. What's going on with Boom? How is Robert Kirkman putting out hits? Invincible, Walking Dead, Oblivion Song. How's he putting out all these hits? So there was an article written saying Disney and Marvel are not going to do any more woke movies. Star Wars are not bringing people to the theaters since they went woke. Yeah. I did hear that Disney had a little, powwow with the execs and said, hey, look, if anybody talks back, because this was in large part towards John, I can't think of his name. He played in the Star Wars movies, and then Brie Larson. If you tell our folks, our customers, the people that are bringing us money, that they're stupid and everything like that, you're gone, period. And think about in Disney's case, if you get blacklisted from Disney, who are you going to work for if you're an actor? They own everything. It's about it. So, yeah, they better be taking note. He had just had last two issues of Spawn print, 70,000 and 120. Exactly, Pope. There is no cotton picking way that he's not making. And if you've gotten some of the Marvel comic books lately, dude, I mean, some of them you're smudging ink off of your hands, and you're like, what the crap? It's like it's made of less stuff. McFarlane charges less and doesn't print as many books, so his cost should be higher in print. Exactly. Cost per book's higher, but he's still making money in his books less. So think about too, when you were a kid and you went to the newsstand, whether it was at the grocery store or at the Five and Dime or at the gas station, wherever, you went to the newsstand and they were 60 cents. So that's the lowest that I remember buying comics off of the newsstand for, was 60 cents. So tell me, especially and more, I remember them being 75 and then $1. But so when they were $1, okay, I can take $20 in there and buy 19 bucks. So that's 19 chances that Marvel or DC at that time, that's pretty much it, had to hook me as a reader. 19 times that they had to be able to hook me. Now, for that same experience, for $20, how many books can I buy? 4. So for the same amount of money, I can buy 4 books to try to be hooked. So is and then to top it all off, the fact that there's not as widespread of a distribution as what there used to be since newsstands gone. So how do you is it any wonder that you're losing readership? The barrier of entry is becoming too high for a kid that has no money. And if a kid's sitting there pulling on mom's coattails, and mom says, "Well, hey, look, if you're spending this much money on comic books, or you can spend this much money on your Xbox Live account," what do you think they're going to do? I mean, um, yeah, 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 yeah. And so DC's figured it out that they put the better artist on the second comic and charge $1 more for it. Good card stock. And then, of course, when you come out with a issue one, you can charge more. Detective 1027, 9.99. Detective 1000, 9.99. Wonder Woman and Flash, they all had their own issues. Joker's 80th anniversary, Catwoman's 80th anniversary, Robin's 80th anniversary. Um, yeah, yeah, I've heard that's a pretty good comic, and I'm gonna have to check into that. What's going on, Flashpoint? Look, it took a lot of amazing willpower to not do that, because I bought every cover for Joker's 80th anniversary. I bought I bought all the decade covers for Detective 1000 and a lot of the other ones outside of that for Detective 1000. I did not get in on the Catwoman or the Robin one, but it took me a lot of willpower not to pick up some because some of them were really nice looking. Um, well, when you send in, don't invite me, I don't come. I'm not going to just crash the party and say, "Hey, I'm here." Um, so, hey, this I was going to show you this. So I did get this today though. So I figure you can get behind that. Walmart and Marvel and DC are the new newsstand books in the deal from these companies. That's a really important deal. So think about this. What's hot right now? Walmart books? Or thunk that Walmart books, anybody would give a rat's anus about Walmart books. But man, those things are hot. I bought some of the Venom 25 packs and I sold and I hardly posted it for a minute on it because um, my shop didn't have any of the variants, so I hadn't seen those. I'm sure that. But yeah, it's like what the crap, It's funny because yeah, so I'm going from Walmart checking these out, and it's fun. It reminds me of going from newsstand to newsstand, and a lot of people are doing it. But comics picked over at Walmart's, so DC Marvel take note. Um, Marvel's still making money on the deal. They're only charging essentially $3, so on this comics a piece. But then they're getting hype around their books, and so then people are buying more of their packs because they're randomized. DC hasn't randomized them yet, but they're less, same amount, but there's 4 books instead of 3 in there. Um, uh, oh man, yeah, I didn't like the Peach Momoko all that great. I did not. I did almost pick it up because that In Huck League cover was pretty sick, but I did not. Marshall Lewis, thanks for running rather rants. Well, from, I tried from the Yeah, I didn't go. I did not go up there, but I'm sure there's somebody like me up there in Huntsville that is doing the exact same thing. I know Rob Boswell. Of course, he's in Kentucky, but I noticed he said hey, everybody else was doing it. I decided I was do it too. Um, but in full disclosure, I do sell them, but um, I'm not charging near what everybody else is charging. It's like, hey, here it is. I'll make a couple bucks. You can get something a lot cheaper than what you'll buy it on eBay or from some of these other sellers, and everybody's happy, right? Because on the Marvel ones, since they're randomized, some of the books I end up keeping for the PC. For instance, there was like a Powers of 10 number 1 variant cover. I wouldn't have picked it up off the shelf. I didn't pick it up off the shelf, but since it was in there and I'd already sold the other book, I was like, yeah, great, cool. Basically, um, my X-Men set or the current X-Men run, because I know I completed my Uncanny X-Men run, so I've got all Uncanny X-Men volumes 1 through 5. So that's 600 plus of them, plus the annuals, all the annuals for them. As far as yeah. So you're saying the set. So yeah, I'm through with it. So I'm collecting other stuff. On occasion, I'll find a variant that I didn't have before, and if I pick it up on the cheap, I will. I've got all of X-Men Volume 1, which is what I refer to as the Jim Lee run. I now have all of X-Men Legacy, which they reset that, and then they came back and titled it X-Men Legacy, and they picked up the Legacy numbering for that set. So it's really two, but it's one set. And then I've almost completed the other X-Men, not Uncanny, but the X-Men related sets, for 3 and 4. 5 is the current one. What's going on, Lost in Comics? How are you doing? Made about $2 to $5 on each pack. Not going to retire. Yeah, and it was fun. That's the thing. I started collecting again a little over a year ago now. And so when I was collecting, man, I was getting that nostalgia kick and everything like that. And I was racing to try to finish some of these sets. Like the FOMO, I guess, was getting a hold of me. And I'm a completionist, so it was like gotta go, gotta have, gotta go. And then so I had to take a step back and say, you know, if this stops being fun, I've got other things I can do that are not that don't cause running around or going to Walmarts, like I'm out with my wife or going around in a Walmart and chasing down those packs. That's fun to me. It's some of the reason why I've picked up more Funko Pops lately, because you can go to Walgreens, you can go to CVS, you can go to Target, Walmart, various stuff like that, just like it used to be with the comics back in the day. So that's just some of the reason I did it. And like you, made a couple bucks a pack, and not going to retire off of it, but it's fun. And that's why we do this. That's why I have a YouTube channel. I'm not monetized. Even when I get monetized, according to everybody else that is monetized, I'm not going to retire off the money. So it's like, if I'm not doing it, like JB likes to say, we had a good time. If I'm not, I'm not going to do it. But I do appreciate everybody that is still hanging around or was here earlier, and I chased them off, hearing me rant about various subjects, random as my mind is. Oh, look, a squirrel. This is about like my collecting. It's about as eclectic as my collecting is. But anyway, I will say that I do have a contest that is going on right now. I have not released the details yet, but you do have to be 18 years or older, and you do have to be a subscriber of the channel. And yeah, and Lost in Comics, you're over in Texas, aren't you? Where are you at in Texas? I spent 4 hours last Friday, and yeah, and had a blast. Yeah, I mean that's what it's all about. Yes, that is the dangerous part. It's like I don't have anywhere to put these things because I like to leave them in the boxes. I don't have anywhere to put these things. What am I doing? But yeah, they do push that nostalgic button. Hey, man, I'm gonna have to get over to San Antonio. If I start head over that way, I'm gonna hit you up, and we'll have to get together. You have to show me some of the honey holes or something. Or got with Dustin from Two Brothers Comics a couple of weeks ago. I was over in Atlanta, and he showed me some of his honey holes over there in Atlanta, and was able to hit up and get some good deals. When I was in Huntsville, that was right before, back in March, maybe. Yeah, right as the whole Corona thing was starting to take off. The Deep was still open, and me and Big Will went and raided the bins there, and at some second and not second, yeah, second and Charles and stuff like that. Um, yeah, well, have fun, man. Hopefully you got everything. They do got a big selection there at the Deep. It's pretty deep, full of comics. But yeah, so you will have to be 18 years or older, and you will have to be a subscriber to the channel. So if you're not already a subscriber to the channel, go ahead and rectify that now, so that when I do drop the news as to how you can enter to win, you'll have that part of it out of the way. But I am giving away Mutants 8 now as the first appearance back there as well. So share the channel. That's a 600 subscriber giveaway. So I've got about 125 to go. So share the channel out so we get closer to 600 subscribers, so that we can go ahead and give that away. And I will be releasing details, and a video will drop entitled 600 subscriber giveaway. And Pope, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, had some, yeah. So do appreciate whether you listen to me ramble live or you catch this on the rewind for watching this. Before you jump out of here, be sure to smash that like button and hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, so that when videos like this, you can make the conscious decision as to whether or not to utilize your time in vicariously living through my collecting practices. Hopefully everybody is staying safe out there. Today is New Comic Book Day, and it's also Hump Day. Yeah. And hopefully everybody's having a good time and pick up some new comics, or new to you comic books at least, and be able to get some reading in. And until next time, keep reading.